see so many agents that use like lead vendors and stuff like that, and I'm just like, guys, you're buying trash.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Connected Conversations in Insurance. I've got another one of my internet friends, CJ Hutsenpiller from Nashville. He is insurance famous. Today, we're going to talk about one of my most favorite lead gen topics, contests. CJ, give yourself a quick intro and let's talk about your background, how you got into the agency, and then this whole approach to contests.
Yeah, sure, man. I'm just outside Nashville in a town called Mountain Juliet. We are just beside the airport here in Nashville. So if you've ever flown into Nashville before, you've probably seen signs for our community here. This is I guess I've been in since 2006. So like I'm getting old, Nick. I'm like I used to be the young guy, and now I'm like I'm not young anymore. So family agency, second generation, bought the agency from my mom. Started out on customer service, moved my way up into sales, and that's really where I kind of hit my stride of doing things. And I think kind of leaning into what we're going to talk about today. Part of that was, a lot of family agencies don't have a ton of extra cash to have all kinds of cool toys, so I had to build my own cool toys. We built our own cool toys, and part of that is around automation, and then that leads into contests, which are also my favorite.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, I've been trying to get agents to do this. I think when I was at a previous company and I got to know you, and I was like, how is this company getting all these leads and getting all this business? And that was how, instead of relying on the old tried and true referral partners, I think lead gen is one of those subjects a lot of agencies get squirrely about. But I think it doesn't have to be Google ads, it doesn't have to be paid Facebook ads. There's other ways to generate leads and make yourself part of the community.
For sure, for sure. I think, a lot of agents get wrapped up around. I see so many agents that use like lead vendors and stuff like that, and I'm just like, guys, you're buying trash. I don't understand. The thing that I would say to any agent that like buys leads, two things. One, if you're even gonna attempt to be successful with those, your automation game has to be just on point, right?
Yeah.
Like that. And if it's not, that's gonna be tough. And the other part of it is like, look at how those leads are generated. Like, look at the Facebook ads and things like that that these companies use to generate those leads, and they're just trash, man. And so, we used to buy, we buy leads. We used all the typical suspects, and I never had any love for that. You know what I mean? I figured out it was way more fun to generate but essentially be my own lead vendor for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I mean, when you're generating leads, you're still paying for it through
Mm,
the purchase of the prize. I worked with one agency, they actually got most of their prizes donated or at cost
mm.
for the things they were giving away. By working
I
with
never
the
get
local
that lucky.
community. Yeah, you gotta have they worked with the local partners and said, "Hey, if we do this, will you sell us this stuff at cost? And then we'll, share the leads with you."
I love it. You know what? I'm going to address the elephant in the room for all the agents that are trying to tune out from you right now. In most states, contests are completely and totally acceptable. I think there's a lot of agents that like they get caught up on this. They're like, oh, it's rebating. Like, well, rebating is defined by like you enticing an insurance sale. The way that I've always approached it is I'm gathering your data with my contest and I'm hitting you over here with the rest of it. The two things have separation of church and state. You know what I mean? And so I think, that's the first thing agents have to do is, hey, yeah, you want to get familiar with your state laws. I'm blessed that, in the state of Tennessee, like the actual DOI has actually come out and been like, hey, this is fine. You can do this. And so having a really clear answer on the DOI, is fantastic. But just know that like most states, this is acceptable in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
"Hey, well, an entry is, X points or a purchase is X points," or something like that. Yeah, that's the thing a lot of people when I approach this, and I've written articles about it, and I've written content around it, and I'm like, "This is how you do it to stay legal." It's, "Hey, it's just collecting information." The sale or the quote happens after you've done all the front end work. Now you've got a whole Twitter thread, and we'll actually link to that Twitter thread,
Yeah,
on content.
absolutely.
Let's talk about the numbers. When you're talking, you're doing this, what do the numbers usually work out for you?
Yeah, so I've done enough contests at this point to kind of have this dialed in. And when you hear these numbers, just know that like, these are our averages, right? Sometimes we do better, sometimes we do worse. But I think everything starts out with this. You have to have a good prize. Like there's a lot of agents out there that are like, oh, I'm giving away a $50 gift card. Why didn't I have 1,000 entries into my contest? And I'm like, well, I'm not excited about a $50 gift card. Like I'm not going to give you my info for $50. Like I'm just not, right? So like to start, you have to come up with good prizes. And like so for me, I always think about it like what is something that people want that they wouldn't necessarily impulse buy for themselves, right? And the example that I always use is like Yeti coolers, right? Yeti coolers are at a price point that like, yeah, people buy them, like people get them, but there's a lot of people that would like to have them, but they're not going to drop 500 bucks on a cooler, right? They're just not. And so what I try to do is from a thought process, think about, okay, what prize do I want to give away? And does that prize have a targetable audience? And I think that's where you really like to nerd out of like, okay, cool. Like a gift card, who wants a gift card? Well, it could be anybody, right? Whereas if I'm saying, hey, I'm giving away a Yeti cooler, right? There's a specific demographic of people that are going to be attracted to that. And so, we've done all kinds of different stuff in the past. Yeti coolers, bog bags. We've given away the subscription boxes, like all these different things. And we start there. It's like, okay, cool. What is our prize going to be? And then we figure out, okay, if depending on how expensive the prize is, depends on how many entries we need to get into our contest. And this is kind of where the numbers come in. For us, right? The way that our contests are laid out every single time is it's basic data collection, name, email, phone number, whatever. And then a question, like a call to action question. Hey, this doesn't help you or hurt you, but we'd love to quote your insurance. Are you interested in checking us out? Yes or no? Right? When we put that out there, 10% of entries will say yes to a quote. Okay. And I have that across probably over 100 campaigns. It's always 10. It'll be right there in that. And every time I have one that's like trending down and I'm like, oh, this one, Nick, this one's only 2%. Like it's tanking. It always at the end when I look back at the numbers, I'm like, oh, yeah, it got 10%, right? And so from 10%, right? Then you go, okay, from there, you're going to have a percentage of those people that aren't going to actually let you quote. Like they just said yes because they thought it was going to help them or something or whatever. Of that, we typically run about 60% in there, 60, 70%, somewhere in that ballpark. And then from there, those are people that 60 or 70% you're getting to quote. And then it's just really whatever your agency close ratio is, right? Of how you do that. But here's the thing that I love about contests is the answer for me is never no. It's not right now, right? And every person that enters one of my contests gets lumped into a custom Facebook audience and an email campaign. And our next contest, we're hitting them again. And then we take new entries. And essentially what we do is we build up this database to where I think at this point we have like 14,000 people or something like that in a mailing campaign that every time we do a contest, we send it out. So what ends up happening is like there's people that enter those contests again, and they may have said no the first 4 times, but then I hit them at the right time. They had a renewal increase, something like that they'll hit it again. So, dude, it's scalable. It's all about you just have to pick the right prize, man. That's the right prize, and the distribution, I think, is probably the big pieces.
Well, I think you've seen me harping on it a lot again, a lot lately, is distribution as the key. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you, besides the email list, how are you
Mm-hmm.
promoting and distributing the contest on social?
Sure. Yeah. So I spend a lot of time like on my personal social, building an audience. So I have an audience there. I do the same. All of my team members also do the same audience building metrics, right? So like we operate in this way. If you're going to be connected to me, we'll use Facebook as an example. If you're connected to me on Facebook, there's 3 reasons that will be. The reason one is that you bring me value in some way, right? And that's family, friends, whatever, right? You bring me value. So I think you're cool, right? So there's that one. Two is you're a current customer, or three is you're a prospect. And so we build off of that. So if you're connected to me on social, that you fall into one of those three buckets. And so my team builds up as many as they can, these prospects. So when we go to launch a contest, they're putting it out on their social, we're putting it out on ours. And when I say our socials, these are like our personal stuff, like our personal pages and things like that. We'll push it from the business pages only because then if we need to, we run ads, right? And so what we do is kind of and then the third phase is like probably our biggest push phase is Facebook groups. So you've got the email marketing list and the paid ads going on second. The first wave we push, the contest is just our socials. Second one is paid stuff, right? We're going to do Facebook ads. We're going to do mailing ads, mailers, all that. And then phase three is we put it in our community groups. And so of those three, you just, like I said, you'll get this wave. And depending on how good the prize is, depends on, what you'll get in some cases.
Yeah, and I've seen yours, and so anybody who hasn't seen any of your contests, you run a pretty tight ship, but it's all built on jot form, right?
Yeah, we use Jotform and Typeform depending on the use case, but
Yep,
they do the same thing. They're the same thing for all intents and purposes.
yep. Have you ever experimented with any of the, like, Rafflecopter or King Sumo products?
I've
I did
seen
one
them.
last year.
I've seen them. I've never felt like for me. I've always felt like ours did well enough that like what I'm doing is working, and I haven't upset that apple cart. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Like I said, I experimented with one personally last year,
Mhm.
and it was such a it wa I was like, "I'm not using this again. I'm gonna go back to my bread and butter landing page with a form." Um,
Yep, and that's all it is. It's so easy.
yeah. Well, and the awesome thing with tools like Jotform and Typeform, and then if you're doing it on your landing page on your website, you
Hmm.
can put your pixel into
Hmm.
those things and retarget people, as
Yep,
long as they're
absolutely.
not as long as they're on a desktop and not on a phone.
Yeah, right. Those iOS devices get hard, get hard to track. But yeah, for sure there. And then I mean, there's other things you can do as well. The cool thing about those forms too is they're easily automatable. Like you can automate a lot of the back end stuff. They all integrate with Zapier. They have great connectivity there. They pass all that data along easy. And I think the barrier for entry is just so low that it's shocking to me that like that's not a place that a lot of agents spend time. And I think that's kind of what you've told me in the past too.
Yeah, well, and, the funny thing with ads, you don't have to have $1,000 budget. You can run a $10 a day ad and get results out of it when you're
Mhm.
starting out.
For sure. And um, yeah, you don't have to have the crazy ad budgets. And the other thing too is like, if we're talking Facebook ads, and let's use my instance, right? So I've got, let's just call it just for easy round numbers. Let's say I got 10,000 people on this, contest list, right? In the big scheme of things, 10,000 people when you're talking about a Facebook ad is nothing. So you're paying by the impressions, right? And so you're able to really you can hit that list and keep your costs still very manageable
Yep.
without having to go crazy on the ad spend.
Yeah, that's a yeah, exactly. It's
You're
well, and I
essentially running it to warm traffic for all intents and purposes.
yep. Do you ever run any of those ads at cold traffic with the
Yeah,
contests?
yeah, absolutely. We'll run them at cold traffic, and then from a targeting standpoint, we'll target around who the demographic we think would like whatever we're giving away, right? And I would say this too, like if you're an agency owner out there listening to this, like listen to your staff on some of this stuff because I've got I'm the oldest one in my agency, right? And so like I talk to like some of my team, they're like, oh, this would make a great giveaway. And I'm like, nobody's going to take that. I have an example. One of the most successful ones that we've ever done was we gave away a bog bag. Are you familiar with those?
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay, a bog bag is essentially like a bag you carry to the beach or the lake or wherever, but it literally is a crock That's what it is. It's a crock. It's made out of the same material. It is a crock and it says bog on it, right? And so like they showed this to me and I'm like, nobody is going to want this. And it went gangbusters, right? And it was super popular with like their demographic. So you take the demographic of like 22 to 35-year-old female was who like would have like that. So that is now a targetable audience that we can build an ad campaign around. And so we made everything, around that and say, okay, cool. And so we'll run our ads just to that. I don't want to send that to, the Nick Berries of the world. He doesn't even know what it is. Right. And so having to build out these, having the prize, have something that you can build around from an audience standpoint and from a targeting standpoint makes the cold traffic when you go that route very inexpensive.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the process. Now, when a prospect fills out the lead form, what happens at your agency?
Yes. So if they fill out the lead form and they say no to a quote, right? They're not interested. That's fine. They get they get a contact created or updated within HubSpot, which is our AMS. It's just created, and then we have properties that are set up for like, okay, they entered a contest, which adds them to custom lists. So we have lists of our marketing people. If they say yes, that is where things get more fun. So we will, if they say yes, the automation still does everything that it did before. It adds them to the list and all the things. But then it takes it from there and it assigns an agent to it, right? Whoever, I have it on like a round robin, right? So it's going to assign an agent to it. And then that agent, everything's created within our AMS. So the deal is set up, all their information is passed, whatever. They're put into a new lead stage. And then we send them a text as our opening spot, which you also need to put some verbiage in your form around that to make sure that that's okay. So especially going into January and all the changes, you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful there. But again, it just comes down to make sure they say yes. Right? Cool. They're okay with you texting them. You send them a text, and the text is essentially, hey, this is CJ at Hutsenpiller Insurance. Thanks for entering our contest. We saw that you were willing to get a quote. That's awesome. What would be a good time to call? Or you can fill out your information here, right? And so we give them a spot where they can give us more information around the quote. And essentially all we're trying to do is start the conversation there, right? And so if they respond back, we've got them. That's kind of the way that we always say it. Like, even if they don't want to go from there. And then essentially we just, at that point, that lead follows our same follow-up process as we would do for any lead that came in. And we attack it in that same way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then all the other things you're talking about, adding them to that mailing list for future contests, Have you, and this is one thing I did when I was working with an agency last year on a contest. What we had them do is everybody who came in, they called and verified their contest entry.
I love that. But here's my
They only did it to the ones that said yes, though. They didn't do it to
okay. That I could see that. So I love that, but I would caution people, depending on how good your contest is, because sometimes they'll get away from you.
Yeah.
I tell this joke, jokingly but seriously at the same time. We gave away some Taylor Swift Eras tickets, and dude, it went freaking bananas. And so like what you're saying, like I think about, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to call them, but absolutely the ones that said yes, that's a great way to just be like, hey, it's soft, right? It's a soft contact. And you can go through it with them, but yeah, you gotta be careful. I would also say, if you had a contest that for some reason didn't do well at all, like, I wouldn't be opposed to calling the people that said no and just don't talk to them about insurance. Just confirming, hey, I got your emails. This da 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 da. Because for me, Nick, and I think this is where people miss in insurance sales is, dude, everything we do, all of our marketing revolves around trying to have a conversation with somebody. And what we try to do is, there's a lot of agents that like they avoid the conversation, right? They want to automate everything, and that's fine. And trust me, I'm as automated as anybody you're going to find. But like making sure that we don't automate that piece of it, and things can come out of conversations that like you call up somebody, say, hey, verifying your lead, da 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 da. So you said you didn't want to quote. That's cool. They may go, oh, well, I just hold on. Well, I've talked to you now. You're a real person. Like
Yeah.
things like that can happen from conversation. So I'm not opposed to that either, but
Yep.
you just have to be careful to make sure you don't over. If I'm a one man shop and I'm getting, I don't want to get leads in a day and then be sunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, that would be miserable. But, I mean, if you're giving
in a
away
good way,
insurance
in the
tickets, you're
best
gonna
way
get
ever.
5,000 leads.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing about contests, and they can be all over the place, but like I think they're scalable for basically any agency, right?
Yep.
Like depending on how much horsepower you want to put behind the distribution piece, kind of like what we were talking about, depends on what you're going to see from a result standpoint. One thing I didn't mention that we do as well on our distribution piece is all of our agents we use different links for each one
Mm.
that are trackable on our end, so that like if producer A gets people coming in, producer A is the assigned agent on all of their leads, right?
Yep.
And so they know that, hey, it's going to generate. And then I let everybody in my agency participate. Anybody that gets commission gets to participate in the contest. So it's not just my salespeople. Sometimes it's other, because I want them using their organic audiences, their sphere of influence that they have on social, and generate opportunities out of that as well.
Yeah.
It's
Those
essentially
are
like the agency's hacking them a little bit.
yeah. Well, and yeah, what's the point of having I mean, let's be honest, what's the point of having staff if they're not gonna participate in the agency, marketing?
100%.
'Cause
100%.
everything is marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. I don't understand that mindset either. For me, rising tide lifts all ships, right?
Yep.
So we got, if one of my CSRs is selling, sold more insurance than they were supposed to, that's never a bad problem.
Yeah, right? Well, awesome. Dude, I really appreciate your time. I don't wanna take up a whole bunch of your afternoon.
No, you're
If
good.
anybody has any questions or wants to pick your I no, that not that. We're not gonna use that. If anybody has any questions, where's the best place for them to connect or ask you questions about contests or how you do this stuff?
Yeah, so I'm a big Facebook guy. So Facebook Messenger is a big thing for me. Or if you really want to see CJ unfiltered, you come and follow me on X and tweet at me or whatever they call it now. Do you exit people? I don't think we've
I don't
gone
know.
through all that yet.
Yeah,
We're just
we
gonna
haven't figured out the verbs.
we're just gonna keep tweet it at me, okay? And tweet at me on X. Yeah, I don't, whatever, however you say it. But that's the spot where I feel like I try to be a little bit like more transparent, or like behind the scenes of stuff that I'm doing over there,
Ins
just because I feel like it's all insurance agents I'm talking to there.
Yeah, insurance, X, or Twitter is, like, my favorite place.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
I waste so much time on there.
Right, right, right,
Really
right.
just ignore this when you get to this point of the podcast.
Right,
Um,
right.
but CJ, I really appreciate your time. I'm gonna hit end and talk to y'all later.
All right, thanks.